Hey YouTube, it's your beekeeper here. We're going to do a little work on the Yamasaw. Saturday morning, not as early as I would like it to be, but I got kind of caught up in choring, laundry, dishes, cleaning the kitchen, you know, the routine stuff you do to maintain a civilized household. But now we're going to get cracking on this. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do today, but let's get her uncovered and let's get another look at it. There we go. Oh boy, we got a little bit of that coastal rust setting in, but it'll be fine once it gets up to the ranch. This is that dead man lever on that last video that Skippy yanked. This is connected to an ignition kill switch, which is the kickstand switch, but it also applies the rear brake. So you push this thing in either direction. It puts force to the rear tire to lock that up, and it kills the engine. Works quite well. I could do the dash cluster, which is just going to consist of, I'm thinking, two switches, the ignition switch and then a fan switch, because I might want to run that fan for a little bit longer. Once you're done and you shut the engine down, you might want to run the fan for a few minutes. So I think that's all I'm going to need there, and most of this wiring, 90% of this wiring is nothing. Right, here's the old ignition. All I need to do is connect these two. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's just brown and red. We'll get ignition, and then the blue is for the headlight, which we don't need. All this is other stuff too. That's turn signals, headlight. I'm not cutting that stuff out necessarily, I don't think, at least not yet. And then we'll use the push button start here. We also have the ignition kill is still quiet birds. The ignition still kills from here as well as an ignition switch here, which will actually be just a battery. This guy, like the key switch, that's what I'm looking for. I can speak English. That's the charging system. I don't know that I feel. I think what I'm going to mess with those, I think I'm going to mess with the blade guards. That seems like something. I've had a long week. My brain's a little dead right now. I don't want to think too much. The electrical is not hard thinking. Blade guard is really not hard thinking. The roller guides I'm going to make for the blades going to be a little tricky because I want them to be able to. I got some ideas, so I don't think I'm going to mess with that. I think I'm just going to do the blade guards. So let me set you down for a minute. We'll be right back. So here's what I'm thinking to build, at least start the build of the blade guide. This is a tire cover off of a van. It was like one of those custom camping van things that had a spare tire on the back. And this covered the tire. It had a filler in the middle, if I remember correctly. I've had this several years, but I got it. It had been crashed in the back. Right? So I got this from my buddy. He used to own a tow yard. Well, I should say he used to be my buddy. I'm assuming he still owns a tow yard, but it doesn't really matter. This was hit in the back. So my thinking is I'm going to cut it. I can hammer all this back out, this bend. But I'm going to cut it in half, and that will make the two end pieces. And it's thick stainless too. This thing's been out in the coastal weather forever and ever, and it's doing quite well, so I'm pretty happy about that. But it's pretty thick metal. So if that blade were to come loose, it's not going to take off any body parts, hopefully. Hopefully, that's the plan at least. So let me do a little fabricating. I'm not going to bother you with the fabrication process. I'm just going to kind of bring you back as things progress. And we'll see if I can make a coherent video. So you get to a point in a project where you just kind of laugh to yourself and say, you know what? This is just dumb enough to work. So I'm just going to take the bandsaw, cut it at about 50%, I think. Yeah, I don't know if I showed you guys. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you guys, but I don't think I showed you guys this. I picked up a new saw for the ranch property. I've got the 020T and the MS-180, which are the smaller ones. Skippy's got a couple of these 029s, and he's got an 036, I think. Some of the bigger ones, but I found this one on Craigslist. It's pretty clean. I bought it from a guy who looked like a pretty reputable seller, so it's not like it's hot. I don't think it's stolen. Seemed like the guy was just cleaning house, an older dude, had a heart attack, had a stroke. Certainly not used in a professional setting. The guy was a painter by profession, but he had 3 saws, 2 steels, and a Makita, and he was selling this one, and he was selling the Makita, and I'm not interested in Makitas. Truth be told, I don't like their. I think they're cheap. The gas-powered products I've used of Makitas, there's two. I've used a Makita chainsaw before, and a rotary cutoff saw for Makita, and I thought they were kind of junky. But nonetheless, I like the steels. I'm very familiar. I've been using these for 20 plus years. I've had good luck with them. I know how to rebuild them. I can do anything pretty much to them with my eyes closed. But I was looking at this, and it's a great machine. 029 super clean. Like I said, homeowner grade, reputable seller, couple $100. Couldn't go wrong. 20-inch bar with a very new, extremely sharp chain. Yeah, first time I just went, oh, look at that, when I was at the guy's house and I cut myself. So I don't think the chain's not brand new, but the chain is it's extremely sharp. And I took it apart and cleaned it because it did have stuff, chips and stuff jammed up in here, which is not uncommon. It runs like a dream, but a couple $100 for this, which is pretty good, right? These saws run 029 with a 20-inch bar, an 18 or 20-inch bar around here runs about $300. It's pretty common, 3 to 350, 56 cc. This one's super clean, like I said. So I went out and took a look at it, did a compression check on it. It's got like 100, I think 160 psi. I don't remember, but the psi is good, right? 180 is roughly new, 120 is roughly you need a new one. I think this one's 160 if I'm not mistaken. I didn't write it down. I didn't take any video of it, but what the money was, and he actually threw this in after I bought this thing. So I offered the guy $200 for it after talking to him for a long time, because the guy was a professional painter, recently retired due to a heart attack and a stroke. And we had some topics in conversation that were common. So we talked for like 45 minutes before I made him an offer, and I'm like, I'll give you a couple $100 for it. And he's like, 200? And I said, yeah, and I thought I insulted the guy, and he's like, yeah, you know what? You got cash, $200 is fine. So I figured we would negotiate up from there. 250 or 300 would have been fair in my mind, but you know, you got to throw that low offer, and he took it. But where the money comes from is what's in this kit here. Now this is an old first aid kit that we had at work. We used the contents on it, and Cintas is who our vendor. They throw these away. These are like pre-sealed and everything. So we had this laying around, or headed to the garbage laying around. But what the money was look at this. The thing came with chains. The thing came with 7 chains for this bar. I mean, that was worth the price of admission. So basically I bought 7 brand new chains and got a saw for free. This one here was in a box. It was in one of these, it's the same as this one, but I couldn't get them all to fit into my little toolkit, you know. So I got a rag. These are my tools, rag. I got files to dress the chains. I've got the actual steel wrenches. I've got 2 of them. Where's the other one? Here it is. But anyway, that's just a quick aside. Let's get back to what we're looking at. Here's what I'm thinking for the roller guides for the blade is skateboard wheels, and this may or may not be the direction I go, but right now that's kind of where my head is thinking, is I've got these brand new skateboard wheels. I think this would be a nicer surface against the steel blade. And again, I could be wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. I make it up as I go along. I'm not going to use skateboard bearings because I feel and these actually might not even be good. Look at the discoloration. Can you guys pick that up? These wheels are pretty old. But regardless, the skateboard bearings, I think the bolts that hold, I think they're too small. I don't know that they would hold up to the abuse. All those skateboard bearings and the bolts that are, the threaded bolts on the trucks are able to hold up people jumping around in them. But I've got these brand new bearings, sealed bearings that are high speed sitting around. I'd have to put this wheel into the lathe and cut a pocket. I don't know. That's the new saw. You'll be seeing that in some upcoming ranch videos when we do chainsaw work. I've got a good amount of inventory. That's probably 7 chains plus this one, so 8 total. That's a lifetime supply right there. That's no joke. But I'm going to get a cutting on this. I'll bring you back in just a few minutes. Blade guards are built. Super solid. I pop riveted the top. That's temporary. I'm going to rip a piece of plywood. It's like 5.5 inches wide, 60 inches long, and it's going to fit underneath the angle iron this way, and then I'm going to bolt it in these existing holes in this angle iron, so there's a solid surface on the top in the event the blade lets go. The wheel cover did quite well. I think it's pretty sturdy on there. Quite happy with that. My intention was to build a blade guard that would allow me to replace the blade without having to disassemble anything on the machine. And this gives me full access to be able to put a new blade in the event it breaks or gets dull and needs to be replaced. Or removed to be sharpened, kind of thing, you know what I mean? I also did this, added a little more fan shroud. Cylinders are offset, right? It sticks more out on this side. Last time I ran it for a while, the front cylinder got nice and cool. It was just fine, and the back one got a little warmer, significantly warmer. Wasn't comfortable to keep my hand on there. This one I could put my hand on, but what this does is it takes all the, because since the front cylinder is more that way, there's a gap on this side from where this fan blows, and it keeps it going this way. It pushes it out. It goes in front of the back cylinder, and then it goes quite a bit of air over the back cylinder. So I'm pretty happy with that. That might work. I like to be able to maintain just one fan on this. Somebody mentioned if I could put 2 fans, but I don't know. It'd be nice, but I don't know that this charging system will. This is like 9 amp. I think it pulls about 9 amp. I had to put an amp meter on this a while back. That's where the battery's ultimately going to go. I just need to, once all this wiring gets configured, but that's where the plan is for the battery. And you get a lot of air that comes out through here. You can really feel it through the front of the cylinder. Oh yeah. Well, that's going to be glorious. It's glorious. So, we're getting there. This is a big hurdle, big step. Kind of screwed myself with this bracket though, because this is where the air filter goes. I might have to cut this off and redo this somewhere else back. I've got the stock air box, but I don't have enough space between here. The stock air box sticks out to about here, so that wasn't going to work anyway, but I wanted to put like maybe an elbow and then stick the air box on top, which that may still work. I may be able to, because this is way overbuilt, right? I might be able to come in and trim this so I can put a 90. I don't know. Not worried about that too much. But I think we're in pretty good shape. So yeah, so that's that. Oh, and I guess no video is complete without a good cold start. Maybe we'll start that thing in a minute. I talked about this new chainsaw, the 029 Super that I picked up a couple weeks back, and nice cold. I figure I'd give it a fire and see what you guys think. Full choke. I think I put fuel in here. Brakes on. One pull. So you take the choke, put it on half choke. That's good. That chain might be a little tight, but it is brand new. That's not so bad. Either way. You can just see the riders come out of the bar when you pull on it. That's usually where I run my chains, because they do stretch when they get warm. You can just pull them up past. You get too much looser than that in your chain, then you start jumping chains. Nobody wants that. So that's a good hurdle to have the blade guards done and out of the way. And this week I'll run by one of the apartments that I'm working on. I know I've got some plywood there. I'll rip a nice piece, 60 inches by 5.5. Get that put in there, and that can be completed. And then it's a matter of roller guides and sorting out the electrical. And let's get this thing up and cut some planks. Anyhow, appreciate you guys watching. Another installment of the Yamasaw. All right, gotta go, gotta run. See ya.